Welcome back to the VapePassion show. This is episode 55 and I'm recording this on Sunday, February 12th. This week's topics include Vape goes out of business. The media is reporting that dripping is a new dangerous vape technique popular with teens. Ohio Governor John Kasich is proposing a 69% tax on vape products. Proposed vaping taxes in Kansas and Hawaii. A new study shows that vaping is as safe as nicotine replacement products. E-cig battery charger research shows that some chargers are not safe. The Daily Mail retracts negative statements made about vaping. And Phil Basardo's new e-liquid line, B Liquids. Hey, welcome back to the VapePassion show. So I'm heading to Pennsylvania next week for a couple of days on a business trip, and we'll probably be there when you watch this, or at least when I put the show up online. So I'm hoping to visit at least one vape shop while I'm out there, but my schedule is really tight. I'll pretty much be in and out of the state, but there are 4 vape shops that are really close to each other in the area that I'll be in on Monday night. So I'd like to visit all of them if I can. I've only flown once before in my entire life and I hated it. It's a little scary to me. So I'll be honest, I'm not really looking forward to the flight there and back, but if you're listening to the show right now, I've at least made it to Pennsylvania safely, and if you see a new episode next week, you'll know that I made it back safely. Anyway, I also got some e-juice in from Mount Baker Vapor a few days ago. They were having a really big clearance on a bunch of their flavors, so I went ahead and ordered some since I've never tried them before. I know that these guys are a budget brand, and like most budget brands, the e-juice isn't always the best, but there are definitely better budget brands than others, and I thought it would be a good chance to try these guys out. I probably won't get around to reviewing this e-juice anytime soon because I always put the stuff that is sent to me for review ahead of the stuff that I buy. So let me know what you guys think about Mount Baker Vapor if you've ever tried them before. I'm hoping they're pretty good. Oh, and I didn't realize that last week was officially my 1-year anniversary of this show, so I just want to thank everyone for continuing to listen. I know in the beginning the show was a little rough, and to be honest, it still kind of is, but I'm getting better with each episode, and I hope to continue on that path. When I started the show, I had planned on sticking to it for at least a year, and then seeing how it went, and make the decision on whether or not I wanted to keep doing it at that point. It didn't get as popular as I had hoped, but I'm happy with where I'm at, so for now, I plan to keep going on with the show with no end in sight. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. All right, well, let's get right into the topics this week. So Vape goes out of business. One of the most trusted and longest running businesses in the vape industry has decided to close their doors. Vape, the manufacturers of the iconic Provari devices, they've announced that due to the upcoming FDA regulations and restrictions, they've decided that it's time to cease operations and shut down permanently. They didn't explain what regulations or restrictions are forcing them to make this decision. They are located in Washington, and as far as I know, the vaping regulations in Washington state are the same as what the FDA's deeming regulations imposed across the country. I'm not entirely sure how the FDA regulations play a part here, because they can continue selling their products until at least 2018. There is one regulation that I can think of, though, that might be hurting their business, and that's not being allowed to come out with new products after the deeming regulations went into effect last year on August 8th. So those regulations are really limiting for any manufacturer, but it might be especially hard for Vape considering the products that they sell. Vape has always catered more towards the beginners or people who like to vape at low wattages. The Provari Classic, which they were still selling until they closed, only goes up to 15 watts and cost $110. The upgraded model, the Provari 3, went up to 20 watts and started at $210 for the basic model. These were both tube-style regulated mods. And then Vape finally released a box-style device called the Radius in late 2015, which was a $200 device that came in either 40 watt or 60 watt models. None of their devices had temperature control, I don't think, and the maximum wattages were very low considering the size of the devices, and the prices were very high. So they were targeting a very select market, and this likely played a pretty big role in their downfall. But talk to anyone who's ever owned a Provari device, and they'll tell you that it's the most durable, trustworthy, and high-quality device that they've ever owned. They're made in the US, they look great, and they're built to last. Unfortunately for Vape, though, the vape market evolved a long time ago towards higher wattage devices and cheap prices, whether or not the devices last long. And when the deeming regulations hit, they couldn't evolve even if they wanted to. So this is a lot of theorizing. I have no idea if that's the real reason for blaming the vape regulations, but it makes sense to me. It could be that they're not willing to risk the FDA regulations being changed before 2018, and maybe they have an opportunity now to go into another business. So who knows? Anyway, it's sad to see a company who created such high quality products go out of business. They've been around since at least 2010, and they were a company who stood by their products and cared about their customers. That's not something you see much these days. So it's really sad to see those guys go. Okay, now here's a funny story that the media has been running with all week. So the media is reporting that dripping is a new dangerous vape technique that's popular with teens. When I saw this story for the first time, I thought it was a joke. So if you're a new vapor, dripping means to use an RDA, or a rebuildable dripping atomizer, which requires you to drip your e-juice onto the coils. RDAs can't hold much e-juice, unlike a tank atomizer, which is why you need to drip e-juice into the atomizer to fill it up again. RDAs are different than tanks because you have more customizability, because you can build your own coils to your preferred specs, you can add your own wicks, and you can change flavors quickly. But those are the basic differences. So why is this news? Really, I have no idea. Researchers from Yale University School of Medicine in Connecticut and Oberlin College in Ohio teamed up to conduct a study that looked at students from 8 Connecticut high schools and their use of dripping. They found that of 1,080 e-cigarette users, 26% of them had dripped, which is about 280 students. The reasons the students gave for dripping were that it produced thicker clouds, made flavors taste better, had a stronger throat hit, and general curiosity. A small percentage of those people listed other as their reason. The researchers also pointed out that the results of their study might not be accurate because 25% of the survey respondents weren't even sure what dripping was and if they had done it. And what's funny about this study is that dripping is practically no different than using a tank. It's just a different method of vaping. And dripping has been around for years. It's not new. But the researchers and the media totally misunderstood what dripping is and how it works. The researchers explained that dripping involves dropping e-juice onto a coil and immediately inhaling. And many news sites are reporting that dripping requires dropping e-juice directly onto hot coils, implying that the coils need to be hot first. I can only imagine that people reading these stories are picturing teens like doing this in dark alleys behind dumpsters, as if they're doing hard drugs. But that's not how it works at all. You vape like normal, you just have to fill the atomizer more often. And it's funny because these people are reporting on dripping on this story as if they're like an old person using a computer for the first time, like baffled and scared of new technology. The media claims that dripping generates higher temperatures than conventional e-cigarettes, which could be cause for concern. Now it's true that an RDA can produce more heat than a Ciga-like product or a tank, but it doesn't have to. You can vape it at whatever temperature you like. And some tanks can handle upwards of 100 watts, just like an RDA can. It's such a ridiculous study that the only reason I can think of why it was done is that the researchers were looking for a way to try to make vaping look bad, or they were looking to get media attention, or to get more funding or further their careers. All right, moving on. So Ohio Governor John Kasich proposes a 69% tax on vape products. So Governor John Kasich of Ohio has a new proposed budget for the state, and that includes increasing taxes on all vape products, including e-juice, mods, and accessories. They're expecting this tax to bring $100 million into the state. But as we've already seen in states like Pennsylvania, it puts vape shops out of business because consumers aren't willing to pay those prices. A third of vape shops in Pennsylvania actually shut down after their tax increase. These taxes aren't generating more money, they're killing businesses and killing jobs, and at the same time making it harder for people to vape. And these people might be trying to save their lives by quitting smoking, but the legislators obviously don't care about that. So as of this recording, I don't see anything up on CASAA.org about taking action against this yet, but I'm sure they'll have something up soon. So if you live in Ohio, keep an eye out on CASAA.org for more info. And you can also contact the governor directly or electronically by going to governor.ohio.gov/contact/contactthegovernor.aspx, or you can call the number 614-466-3555. All right, and another calls to action. If you live in Kansas or Hawaii, you need to fight some vaping tax proposals. Kansas is proposing a change in how the tax rate is applied to vape products. The bill won't increase the tax rate by much, but it will redefine consumable material, which opens up the ability to increase taxes in the future. There will be a hearing on Tuesday, February 14th. So if you live in Kansas, go to CASAA right away and get information on how you can take action. And finally, Hawaii is considering a wholesale tax on vaping products. The initial proposal was a 70% tax, but lawmakers have removed that amount and will instead debate on a proposed amount later. I don't see any call to actions for this one yet on CASAA.org either, but there's a useful thread on ecigaretteforum.com with more information and a link to a change.org petition. So if you live in Hawaii, act on this one right away. All right, now for a new study. So the results of a new study funded by Cancer Research UK is further adding to the large amount of research that is already available showing that switching to vaping from cigarettes is substantially healthier than smoking. The study was published on February 6th in the Journal of Annals of Internal Medicine, and they looked at a total of 180 people split into groups of 36 to 37 people who were either current smokers, former smokers who are long-term e-cigarette or NRT users, and dual users who both smoke and use either e-cigarettes or other NRT products, nicotine replacement products. The researchers tested urine and saliva samples for biomarkers of nicotine, tobacco-specific N-nitrosamines, and volatile organic compounds. Their study found that exposure to known smoking-related carcinogens and toxicants is reduced by as much as 56% to 97% in long-term e-cigarette users who stop smoking completely. They found that switching solely to electronic cigarettes reduces intake of carcinogens and toxicants just as much as someone using other nicotine replacements, such as nicotine gum, lozenges, or the patch. So the results of this study show that vaping significantly reduces the risk of cancers compared with smoking and is a safer alternative to smoking. It also works very similar to any other nicotine replacement product on the market in that the user's nicotine levels will remain the same, but levels of cancer-causing chemicals reduces dramatically. This study also found that dual users of tobacco and e-cigarette or other nicotine replacement products do not experience significantly reduced exposure to harmful toxins, but the researchers note that results do vary. And as we've seen in other studies, this depends on the smoker. We've seen that while a smoker who reduces from, let's say, 15 cigarettes per day from 20, they don't see much benefit to their health. But if a smoker can reduce their cigarette intake down to fewer than 3 cigarettes per day, they will see significant health improvements. Okay, the next topic here, e-cig battery charger research shows many chargers are not safe. So the Shared Regulatory Service, or SRS, they're a trading standards agency in Wales. They report that there is a high failure rate in e-cigarette chargers. They're now advising businesses who sell vape products to proceed with caution when selling chargers to customers. So SRS, they purchased 17 different e-cig chargers from various small retailers in the country of Wales and found that 10 of those 17 chargers failed safety tests. The failed chargers didn't meet the requirements of the Electrical Equipment Safety Regulations 1994. That's what the regulation is called. In the UK, due to reasons such as markings or instructions, construction, protection from access to live parts and electric shock, and insufficient pin length. Due to these findings, all failed chargers were removed by officers from the businesses selling them, and SRS is offering advice to businesses on what to look for when stocking e-cigarette chargers. So they're advising businesses to check that manufacturer's brand name, logo, or trademark is on the equipment, check that there is a model name or number, look for a CE mark, make sure input voltage is marked and equal to or greater than 230 volts, and make sure that instructions are available. SRS didn't name any of the chargers that they purchased on their website, but I found that one of the companies involved was Flavor Vapor, who found that their manufacturer had changed the internal workings of the charger without their knowledge, and then failed to update the markings on the cover, which is what made those chargers non-compliant. So Flavor Vapor, they immediately issued a nationwide recall of their chargers and plan to make them all compliant. Another company was Totally Wicked, who sells one particular model that had a live and neutral pin that's a fraction shorter than requirements, which is not likely to cause issues, but it could. That issue has already been corrected. So some of the failed chargers, they might have failed for reasons that might be so minor that they aren't much of a safety risk, but it's still a good example of why you should only use a manufacturer recommended charger and why you should avoid cheap third-party products that might not be safe. All right, now here's a quick one. dailymail.co.uk, they published an article on January 27th that made the statement that some health experts believe that vaping is more harmful than cigarettes. The article was removed and replaced with a statement that says that they are not aware of any experts who hold that view, and then they apologize for making the suggestion. I didn't get a chance to read that article, but I'm sure it was poorly researched, like a lot of articles on Daily Mail. I actually stopped using Daily Mail as a source a while ago because I found that their articles are just so biased and sensationalized and poorly researched. And it's really unfortunate because there are a lot of pro-vaping articles on there too. And in fact, last week, Wikipedia officially removed Daily Mail as a reliable source after deeming them as generally unreliable, in their words, after several instances of just straight up lies and false quotes being published on the site. And Wikipedia plans to remove more than 12,000 links to the site. Anyway, it's good to see that Daily Mail retracted that article and apologized for it. All right, and finally, I want to talk about Phil Basardo's e-juice line, B Liquids. That's B period liquids. So Phil Basardo, one of the most popular vape reviewers on YouTube, he released his own e-juice early last year. It's called B Liquids, and he hardly promoted this line when it first came out, and he still doesn't really that much now. So I totally forgot about it until I heard someone asking him about it on a live show on YouTube last week. Now, as you would expect, Phil's line of e-juice is catered more towards vapors like himself, which means high nicotine and people using tight draw devices. That doesn't mean that these e-liquids won't be good to everyone else, but they're designed specially for smokers who are transitioning to vaping. So let's quickly cover the specs. They come in 60 PG, 40 VG. They have a stronger throat hit, similar to a cigarette, full but not overpowering flavor, no sweeteners, just flavoring, Only high quality ingredients. The e-juices are made in America and they use only American sourced nicotine. They're manufactured by Molecule Labs under ISO 7 clean room conditions, and all flavorings are sourced from Flavor Art. B-liquids come in 6 different flavors: almond cream coffee, coconut vanilla yogurt, mint tobacco, peach watermelon, strawberry pastry, and traditional tobacco. I like that he named his e-juices the exact flavors that they are. No confusing gimmicky names, and you can get these e-juices in nicotine levels of 0, 3, 6, and 12. I'm actually surprised that he doesn't have stronger levels of nicotine available, considering the audience that he's targeting. So e-liquids come in 30 ml glass bottles or 30 ml plastic tubes for $14.99 each, or in my Von Earl pods for $10.99. And those tubes, it's a really interesting concept. I've never seen e-juices come in a tube like that. If you're listening to the podcast and can't see the picture that I'm showing, it looks like a black tube, like what toothpaste comes in. And they mention some benefits to this tube too, such as that it's shatterproof, it's easy to use, and it protects against light. I'd really like to buy this e-juice just to try that tube. Anyway, something else to note for those of you in the UK is that B-liquids have gone through TPD compliance, and 10 ml bottles and tubes will be coming out soon. So you can order directly from the official website at beliquids.com, and that's beliquids.com. And there are currently 6 other shops carrying it. You can get it at JJ Vapes, Good Karma Vapor, The Steamery, Kidney Puncher, My Vapor Store, and Giant Vapes. Okay, so that's all I have for this week. You'll find show notes for this episode on VapePassion.com. Just search for episode 55. If you want to support the show, consider donating to my Patreon page at patreon.com/VapePassion. You can follow me on Twitter at VapePassion, and I'm also on Facebook if you want to leave me a comment. If you like this weekly show, please consider giving me a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. You can also subscribe to the podcast version of the show on either iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. If you'd like to get notifications of new reviews or of the show, you can sign up to receive my weekly email on VapePassion.com. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me anytime at alex@VapePassion.com. All right, I'll see you next week.